They kept sneaking into her pool until she made sure they'd regret it. She warned them to stay out. They didn't listen, so she made sure they'd never try again. Melanie Carter had worked tirelessly for everything she had. At 45 years old, she took great pride in her homey, stunning two-story house in Sarasota, Florida. Her backyard was her sanctuary. Lush palm trees lined the fence, and in the center of it all was her pride and joy, a crystal clear, perfectly maintained pool. She wasn't the type to boast, but she had every reason to be proud. She had bought the house on her own, with no handouts, no shortcuts, just years of hard work, saving, and making smart choices. Her neighborhood was a mix of families, retirees, and vacation homeowners. Some people were friendly, while others kept to themselves. Melanie didn't mind either way. She wasn't looking to be the neighborhood favorite, she just wanted peace. But that peace didn't last long. The first time it happened, she brushed it off. One Saturday afternoon, she came home from running errands and noticed wet footprints leading from her backyard gate to the sidewalk. At first, she thought maybe it was the landscaper or a utility worker, but then she saw it's a dripping wet towel carelessly thrown over her fence. She checked the pool. The water level was lower. Her pool float had been moved. A half-empty soda can sat on her lounge chair. Someone had been in her backyard. Melanie took a deep breath, trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe a mistake. Maybe a kid jumped the fence and panicked when they got caught. But when she asked around, she got nothing but casual shrugs from the neighbors. "Oh, it's probably just one of the kids," a woman said with a laugh. "You know how they are." Another neighbor, a man in his 50s, barely looked up from his car as he said, "They're just having fun. You've got a nice pool, Miss Carter." People notice. The way he said it bothered her, but she didn't argue. Instead, she tightened the lock on her gate and hoped it wouldn't happen again. But it did. A week later, she was sitting in her living room when she heard splashing. At first, she thought maybe she had left the pool filter running, but then laughter. She walked to the back door and peeked outside. There, in her pool, was a teenage boy casually swimming, as if he owned the place. A girl, probably his sister, sat at the edge, dipping her feet in. Melanie flung the door open. "Excuse me?" The kids jerked up, eyes wide. The boy scrambled out of the water like a caught fish. "Two thought," he stammered. "We didn't think you'd mind." "You didn't think to ask," Melanie snapped. "Who even are you?" The girl mumbled something about living 2 houses down before they bolted out the gate. Melanie stood there, a dripping towel in her hand, heart pounding. She wanted to let it go. But then came the excuses. The next day, she confronted the kids' parents, expecting an apology. Instead, she got an argument. "Oh, come on," the mother scoffed. "They're just kids, it's hot. What's the big deal?" Melanie stared at her, stunned. "The big deal," she said slowly, "is that this is my property, my home, my pool, and I don't remember giving out invitations." The father, arms crossed, muttered, "You're being dramatic." Dramatic. That was the word people loved to throw around when they weren't the ones being disrespected. Melanie bit back the words she really wanted to say. Instead, she installed security cameras. Maybe that would send a message. But it didn't. The problem was just getting started. The security cameras worked for about 2 weeks. At first, the neighbors backed off. No more footprints, no more wet towels, no more uninvited swimmers. Melanie thought maybe, just maybe, she had made her point. But then, on a scorching Saturday afternoon, she pulled into her driveway and noticed something strange. Her side gate, the one she always kept locked, was slightly open. She stiffened. A bad feeling crept up her spine as she walked around back. And there it was, her yard, her private oasis, invaded once again. This time there weren't just a couple of kids. There was a whole group. 4 teenagers splashed in her pool, laughing loudly. A few others lounged on her patio furniture, sipping sodas like they belonged there. Melanie clenched her jaw. Enough was enough. She stepped back inside, grabbed her phone, and pulled up the live security feed. With a few taps, she activated the outdoor speakers. Her voice boomed through the backyard. "You have exactly 5 seconds to get out before the police arrive." The reaction was instant. The kids screamed, scrambling out of the water, slipping on the wet pavement as they bolted for the gate. One of them tripped over a lounge chair in the chaos. Melanie smirked as she watched them disappear down the street. She didn't bother calling the police. The look of sheer terror on their faces had been punishment enough. By the time she walked outside, the backyard was empty except for a few abandoned towels and soda cans. She shook her head, picking up a towel and tossing it into the trash. Maybe now they'd finally understand. This wasn't just a pool. This was her home, and she wasn't about to let anyone take it from her. The backyard was packed, not just with kids, grown adults lounged on her chairs. Beer bottles littered the ground, and someone had even set up a folding table covered with snacks. The pool was full, people laughing and chatting like it was a public resort. A couple of women stood waist-deep in the water, casually talking as if they belonged there. A man leaned against the pool ledge, grinning as he sipped his drink. For a second, Melanie Carter thought she had lost her mind. Was this real? She took a step forward, scanning the crowd. That's when she locked eyes with Sandra, a woman who lived 3 houses down. Sandra, who had never spoken to Melanie before, waved as if this was some casual neighborhood gathering. "Hey girl, hope you don't mind," she called out. "It was so hot today we figured we'd cool off." Melanie's jaw tightened. "Mind?" Oh, she minded. Her voice was sharp, steady. "Every single one of you get out. Now." Some people froze. Others exchanged looks, as if she were overreacting. Sandra scoffed. "Oh, don't be like that. It's just a pool. You weren't even home." Melanie stepped forward, her anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "It's not just a pool. It's my pool, my house, my yard. You don't live here. You don't pay for this." Her voice dropped lower, more dangerous. "So get out, all of you." Someone muttered, "Geez, what's her problem?" That did it. Melanie stormed to the pool equipment box, grabbed the remote, and shut off the pool filter. Then she yanked the power cord to the speakers. Silence. "I'm calling the police," she announced. That got them moving. Drinks were snatched, towels wrapped up, and within minutes her yard emptied. Sandra, however, had the audacity to roll her eyes on the way out. "You don't have to be so uptight," she muttered. Nobody was hurting anything. Melanie wanted to scream. Instead, she stood stone-faced, watching as they shuffled away like nothing had happened. She slammed the gate shut, locked it, and stood there, hands on her hips, fuming. But she knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. These people had zero respect for her. And if respect wouldn't stop them, something else would. She had tried everything, talking, reasoning, cameras, locks. None of it worked. So now, it was time to get creative. Melanie sat at her kitchen table, staring at the security footage from earlier that day. The nerve of these people. The way they acted so entitled, as if her property was theirs to use whenever they pleased. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was done. If they wanted to keep treating her pool like the neighborhood water park, she was about to make sure their next visit would be their last. First, she made a trip to the hardware store. She picked up 2 heavy-duty locks for the side gate, one for the pool equipment box. The old ones were strong, but these, unbreakable. Next, she went online and ordered a special chemical treatment for her pool, not chlorine, something stronger. It wasn't dangerous, just a harmless but highly effective trick used by public pools to expose rule breakers. A little something called pool dye. A harmless chemical that turns the water bright green if someone pees in it. Yep. If even one of those freeloaders tried to use her pool again, they'd leave looking like a radioactive alien. But that was just the start. Melanie wanted insurance, something that would make them think twice before ever stepping foot in her yard again. So she went to a local sign shop and had a custom pool sign made. The next morning, she drilled it right onto her fence where everyone could see. Warning: pool chemically treated for unauthorized use. Exposure may cause rash, severe itching, or temporary skin discoloration. Did it sound extreme? Sure. Was any of it actually true? Nope. But they didn't know that. And just to sell it, she placed an empty hazardous chemical container near the pool pump, something she picked up from a friend who worked in maintenance. Now, all she had to do was wait, and it didn't take long. That afternoon she sat by her window sipping iced tea, watching. It was quiet for most of the day. Then she saw a couple of teenagers walking past her fence. They stopped. Read the sign. One of them whispered something, then pointed at the chemical container. Within seconds they turned right back around and walked away. Melanie smirked. Later that evening, she saw Sandra outside. The woman glanced toward Melanie's yard, then quickly looked away. Word had definitely spread. By the time the next weekend rolled around, not a single soul dared to set foot near her property. Melanie stretched out on her pool chair, sunglasses on, completely at peace. Finally, her backyard was hers again. And she knew one thing for sure: they'd never try that again. That night, Lisa Carter sat comfortably in her living room, sipping her tea, when she noticed a notification pop up on her phone. Curious, she opened her neighborhood Facebook group, and there it was. A post from none other than Sandra, her entitled neighbor from 3 houses down. Froy, looks like Lisa put some kind of weird chemical in her pool. Says it causes rashes and skin issues. Not sure how safe that is. Just a heads up. The comments were already rolling in. OMG, what if it leaks into the ground? That doesn't sound legal. Why does she even care so much? It's just water. She's always been so unfriendly. No wonder nobody likes her. Lisa laughed out loud. They weren't mad because she had lied. They weren't even mad because they got caught. They were mad because they realized their free ride was over and they hated it. If they wanted to test her, they were more than welcome to try. For the first time in months, Lisa finally felt at peace. No more random towels. No more strangers lounging in her yard. No more entitled attitudes. Her plan had worked. Or at least, she thought it had. Then came the knock. It was a Thursday evening when she heard it. Sharp, impatient, banging on her front door. Lisa sighed, setting her drink down before peeking through the peephole. There she was, Sandra. Arms crossed, her face twisted in frustration. Lisa rolled her eyes. Here we go. She took a deep breath and opened the door, keeping her expression calm. Yes? Sandra didn't waste time. We need to talk. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Do we? Sandra huffed. Look, I don't know what your problem is, but people are saying you put some kind of dangerous chemicals in your pool. Lisa blinked, then smirked. I did, she said smoothly, to keep out uninvited guests. Sandra's jaw clenched. You can't do that. What if a kid touches the water? Lisa folded her arms. A kid who broke into my yard? Sandra faltered. That's not the point. Lisa tilted her head. It's exactly the point. Her voice lowered, controlled but firm. I told people to stay out. They didn't listen. So I took precautions. Sandra scoffed. You're ridiculous. You don't even have kids. It's just sitting there going to waste. Lisa narrowed her eyes. So because I don't have kids, that means my pool is up for public use? Sandra rolled her eyes, shaking her head. Oh, come on, don't act like... Lisa cut her off. No, you come on, Sandra. You and the rest of these people have some nerve. You don't pay my water bill, you don't clean my pool, but you expect to just help yourselves? Sandra's face turned red. Well, maybe if you weren't so unfriendly, people would actually like you. Lisa laughed. Not a sarcastic laugh, a deep, genuine laugh. And that's your problem, Sandra. You think being liked means letting people walk all over you. Sandra opened her mouth, then closed it. She shook her head, exhaling sharply. You know what? Forget it. She turned on her heel. Enjoy being the mean neighbor. Lisa called after her. Enjoy using your own hose this summer. Sandra stomped off. Lisa shut the door with a smile on her face. They were mad, but they had finally gotten the message. And just to be sure, she doubled down. The next morning she added one final touch. A motion-activated sprinkler system along the fence. Anyone who tried to sneak in would get a nice, cold wake-up call. But the best part? She never had to use it, because nobody tried again. The freeloading days were over. After months of frustration, Lisa had finally reclaimed her peace. The pool? Hers again. The backyard? Quiet. The entitlement? Gone. And the best part? She never even had to call the police, because that was never the goal. Lisa wasn't trying to cause drama. She wasn't trying to make enemies. She just wanted what was hers to be respected. But here's the thing. Some people don't respect boundaries unless they're forced to. Lisa had tried to be nice. She had given warnings. She had even asked politely. And they had ignored her at every turn. But the second she flipped the script, they backed off. Because at the end of the day, people will take as much as you let them. It doesn't matter if it's your time, your space, your energy, or even your damn swimming pool. If you don't set boundaries, someone will walk all over you. So, was Lisa petty for what she did? Maybe. But was she wrong? Not even a little. Now what about you? Have you ever had to stand your ground when people tried to take advantage of you? Or better yet, would you have handled this situation? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. Thanks for watching. And remember, respect is earned, not given.